Hello, and welcome to day 12 of the 30-day Business English Idiom Challenge. It is significantly later than I was hoping to go live today. There's a long story that goes with that, but I will spare you it, and I will just jump right in to the idioms, and I'll say hello to those of you that end up joining on the live and those of you on the replay. Thank you for being here, and apologies if you were hoping to join 2.5 hours ago. Oh, so tempted to tell the story, but suffice to say, I would have been here if I could have, and apologies if you were waiting and weren't able to join at 6 p.m. Okay, jumping right in, we're looking at idioms, business English idioms related to reconsidering. And we are looking at these idioms: pause for thought, take a fresh look, put the brakes on, throw a curveball, call a timeout, and put something on the back burner. Just a reminder that idioms are used frequently by native speakers, but not all at once. I'm going to show you some of the idioms, or the ones that we're doing today, all at once, and that's not how a native speaker would use them. They're used sparingly, like just a few at a time, and they're not really used in written communication in business English because that would be too informal. And I really encourage you to pay attention to which of these idioms you actually hear in your daily life and in your use of English, and really focus on the ones that you hear, especially native speakers using, and make sure that you make a conscious choice to create practice around those ones and to put those ones into your active vocabulary. We're going to look at the idioms in context to begin with, and we will repeat this exercise at the end, and hopefully you'll be able to see a bit of a difference with your understanding. I'm just going to read them out so you can get a bit of a feel for them. Okay, here we go. The team was buzzing with excitement. If you are buzzing with excitement, it means you're really excited. So that's a great phrase, to be buzzing with excitement. It's very informal, but it just means lots of excitement, like a very high level. Okay, the team was buzzing with excitement as they prepared for the launch of their latest satellite. But just days before the scheduled launch, their lead engineer, Maria, announced a critical issue that threw a curveball into their plans. So that's one of the idioms. We'll come back to what it means. But their plans have had this curveball thrown into them. Okay, second paragraph. Everyone, we need to pause for thought, said project manager Ethan during an emergency meeting. This problem requires us to take a fresh look at our systems and ensure everything is functioning correctly. Ethan decided to put the brakes on the launch, much to the team's disappointment. We'll need to call a timeout and address this issue thoroughly, he explained. Let's put the launch on the back burner for now while we work on a solution. Okay, so there are lots of idioms there. Again, we wouldn't use them all at once, but I just wanted you to get a feel for them in context, and then we're going to go through them one by one and then repeat that exercise. Okay, pause for thought. This one is probably a little bit easier to understand. Let's look at two examples. The unexpected results made the team pause for thought about their strategy. His feedback on the project made her pause for thought before making any further decisions. Okay, this one I'm sure you can figure out. It means to pause, to stop, and think carefully about something. So perhaps more of a phrase than an idiom, and that you can understand it just from really thinking about what the words mean and what it might mean when they're put together. The synonyms that we could use, we could say reflect, reconsider, contemplate. We would pause for thought before making a decision, or pause for thought about something. So it's a moment of contemplation. Okay, if you're watching this on the replay, I would love if you want to join in the comment section, practice using the idioms. I will come back and respond to every comment, I promise. It's always such a delight to see you practicing. So here's a prompt. Describe something that recently made you pause for thought. So something that recently caused me to pause for thought is, there's a interesting collocation, caused me to pause for thought. So that often goes together. So this caused me to pause for thought. So have a think about that, and what would you say? We're going to move on to take a fresh look. Sometimes it helps to take a fresh look at a problem after a good night's sleep. The chef took a fresh look at the restaurant's menu, adding in some innovative new dishes. It means to review or reconsider something from a new perspective. So to look at it in a fresh way. So fresh can mean new. So we're taking a fresh look, or taking a fresh perspective. So it means new, a new look, a new perspective. So we can talk about reevaluating, reassessing, re-examining, taking a fresh look. So we take a fresh look at something, usually at a problem, a situation, or project, or take a fresh look after some time or with new information. Okay, what strategies help you take a fresh look at your work? I have taught people writing skills for many, many years. And one of the things that I always say is that writing is different from editing and proofreading. Editing is when you make big changes to your writing, and proofreading is when you make small changes. So editing would be things like moving sentences around, changing paragraphs, making big changes. Proofreading would be like spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Writing is the process of writing. It's different from the activities that you do when you make your writing better. So one strategy that I always recommend that writers use is to leave time between the process of writing and the process of editing and proofreading. Ideally, a day at least, so that you can come back to it with fresh eyes and take a fresh look. And there's been a bit of a space, and that helps you really understand what's good and what's not good in your own writing. What about you? What strategies help you take a fresh look at your work? Okay, let's move on to put the brakes on. So this one, we think about brakes on a car. To put them on would mean to go slower. So let's look how we could use it in a business context. Due to budget constraints, the company had to put the brakes on its expansion plans. The unexpected issue forced the team to put the brakes on the project temporarily. So there we've got put the brakes on plans, put the brakes on a project. So it means to slow down or to stop an activity or process. So to reduce the level of activity on it. So halt, stop, or slow down. We can put the brakes on something like a plan or a project, or put the brakes on progress in general. And we often talk about, the word immediately often collocates with put the brakes on. So put the brakes on this project immediately, or putting immediately first and saying, we need to immediately put the brakes on this project. And of course, you could use other phrases to vary whether you're talking about temporarily or permanently, but I think immediately is a really common one. Okay, have you ever had to put the brakes on a project? Was there a time in which you had to slow down progress for something? So I had to put the brakes on a project when? What happened? I would love if you want to join in. Put your response into the comment section, have a go, practice using that to put the brakes on, to slow down. Have you ever had to put the brakes on your English learning Perhaps you were too busy at work and you had to put the brakes on your English studies. Tell me in the comments. Okay, throw a curveball. This comes, I believe, from baseball. And, we'll look at what it means in a business context. I'll read the examples. The sudden change in client requirements threw a curveball at the team. Just when we thought the meeting was over, our boss threw a curveball by making a new request. Okay, so what do you think that means? That the meeting was finished and they were expecting to end, but there was a curveball, right? A new request came in right at the end. It means to surprise someone with something unexpected. So if we go back to here, the change in the client requirements was surprising in the first example. And then the fact that they thought the meeting was over, but actually he had something else, or she could have been a female boss. The boss had something else to request, was unexpected. So it was a surprise. So it means to surprise someone with something unexpected. So we can talk about a surprise, a shock, or to catch off guard. So our boss caught us off guard by asking a request at the end of the meeting. Or our boss threw a curveball by asking a request at the end of the meeting. So we can talk about throwing a curveball at someone, or to throw a curveball unexpectedly or suddenly. This is quite informal. Goodness, excuse me. This is quite informal. My goodness. Quite informal, but widely used. So it's a good one. um, do you know what's funny is when I make a mistake in English, which is my first language, and I'm feel reasonably confident in, I find it really funny, and I try to take that attitude when I make a mistake in Portuguese, my second language, as well, because sometimes we get so serious about not making mistakes, and yet we all make mistakes in our own language. It just happens, so we can work towards having mistakes just be something we laugh about and move on. Okay, I had a bit of a curveball thrown at myself there when I made a mistake. Here's a prompt. Describe a curveball you've faced. Oh, and there's an error. Goodness, there's another curveball. Something unexpected at the bottom there. I need to go back and I will fix that typo there. But I would love for you to practice and write out a sentence. Describe a curveball that you faced. And just a reminder, it's also a really good thing to get in the habit of speaking out loud new vocabulary and new idioms that you learn, so that you can consolidate your language through your understanding, rather, through actually using it immediately. So grab ChatGPT on your phone, press the app, speak to ChatGPT, have a conversation back and forth about a time in which you've described a curveball. If you're not sure how to use the ChatGPT app to speak to AI, you might want to check out the videos that I have on my YouTube, or ask me in the comment section, and I will provide all the info to help you with that. But make sure you do practice with them. Okay, call a timeout. This lady is making like the timeout. That's the timeout sign when people want to call a timeout. Here's two examples. Okay, timeout, folks. We need to stop for a moment. This isn't working. Second example, when the meeting got heated, she called a timeout to cool things down. Okay, what do you think it means if a meeting gets heated? Or we can talk about having a heated argument. It's not about being hot, being too warm. If a meeting gets heated, it means people are starting to get really angry with each other and they're starting to argue. If a conversation gets heated, same thing. So when the meeting got heated means when people started to get angry and shout and get annoyed with each other and argue. She called a timeout to cool things down, to get everyone back to being calm and respectful. So to call a timeout means to take a break or pause in order to reassess or reorganize. So often so that people can calm down and return to their normal selves because they've become angry. So synonyms would be to pause, to take a break, or to halt or stop something. Um, so calling a timeout often about getting people to calm down, but not always. You might call a timeout during a meeting or in a discussion, just to have people have a moment to talk to each other or to take a break for a moment, to reassess or kind of reorganize things. Okay, over to you. When do you think it's most effective to call a timeout in a discussion? Um, if it's needed. This would be in an extended discussion. You're not going to be briefly chatting with someone and saying, hang on a minute, time out. Um, a, a long discussion like a meeting. And be careful because the connotation, the thought, and the feeling of call a timeout is that it's something used when people are angry and it's quite informal. But what do you think? Can be effective to call a timeout when? So basically, when do you know when people are starting to get annoyed with each other? When is best to call the timeout so that it doesn't escalate? What do you think? I would love to see your responses in the comments. Okay, I think this is the last one, I believe. Put something on the back burner. In the picture there, you can see a ring of like gas fire for cooking. And one of the rings would be a burner. And there's a front burner that you can see that's lit, and then you can see the back burner behind it. So a front and a back. Okay, so that's what it literally means if you're talking about in a kitchen. But how do we use this in business? Well, let's look at the examples. Due to these new urgent deadlines, we are going to have to put your project on the back burner for now. She decided to put some of her personal projects on the back burner for a while to focus on her career. It means to postpone or delay something. The back burner is where you might have, things that you're cooking that are just simmering, just a little bit hot, and it's not really urgent. Versus at the front of the oven, you would maybe have the things that you're directly cooking and working with right now. So to put something on the back burner, it means to move it towards being less important. Postpone, delay, or defer. Okay, over to you. How do you prioritize which tasks need to go on the back burner and which are urgent? How do you make that distinction? Again, go ahead and put your answer in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Okay, we are going to read through the extract again and talk about the idioms in context. Okay, the team was buzzing with excitement as they prepared for the launch of their latest satellite. But just days before the scheduled launch, their lead engineer, Maria, announced a critical issue that threw a curveball into their plans. So she said there was a surprising, unexpected issue. Everyone, we need to pause for thought. So he's saying, everybody, we need to stop and think. We need to pause for thought, said project manager Ethan during an emergency meeting. This problem requires us to take a fresh look, so a new look at our systems and ensure everything is functioning correctly. Ethan decided to put the brakes on the launch. He decided to stop the launch, much to the team's disappointment. We'll need to call a timeout and address this issue thoroughly. So in that context, he's saying we'll need to stop and rethink. So a timeout in that situation is a chance for everybody to stop working and think about the problem. So we'll need to call a timeout and address this issue thoroughly, he explained. Let's put the launch on the back burner for now while we work on a solution. So he's saying let's not focus on anything to do with the launch, and let's put all of our focus on the solution. Okay, Remember that these slides are available. They will be added to the free course that I am building, and you'll have a chance to go and look at them and read through them on your own if you would like to. And I'll put the link for that in the description section on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, it will be there. Let's do a short 2-question quiz. Have a think about what you would put as the answer for these. So, number 1, your client suddenly asks for a completely different proposal than what was planned. Which idiom fits this scenario? A, put something on the back burner. B, throw a curveball. C, pause for thought. Okay, number 2. After a long period of consistent work, your manager asks the team to reconsider their approach from a new perspective. Which idiom fits this? A, throw a curveball. B, take a fresh look. C, call a timeout. Okay, have a think to yourself. Which would you choose for question 1 and question 2? Okay, question 1. If your client suddenly surprises you with an unexpected request, then they have thrown you a curveball. And question number 2. If you are suddenly asked to reconsider your perspective and to take time to do that, then you're asked to have a fresh look at something. Okay, there we are. Those are all the idioms related to reconsidering. Thank you for watching this, and I do hope you'll join in and practice, and I hope to see you on the next days coming up in the challenge. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye for now.